Hurricane Tracker Joe here with Storm Stories, Episode 1. Going through these storms from oldest to most recent, I can show you my journey of how and why I started to track storms. I moved to Florida in August of 1991. The following year, I was hit by my first hurricane. It was August of 1992. A hurricane formed 3,000 miles from my coastline. For a week, this storm was heading west. It was forecasted to hit South Florida. This again was 1992. The population was a third of what it is today in South Florida. I grew up in New Jersey and never had been hit by a hurricane. Looking back, I will never forget the reaction the people had. A major hurricane heading straight towards my region. Nobody cared. The locals were telling me, it's not going to hit us. They always turn north. Okay, what do I know? I just moved here. So I was a kid and I went to a hurricane party. It was like 3 a.m. and the storm was getting real close. This storm was named Andrew. I remember driving from the party from Boynton Beach down to Delray where I was living. I will never forget what I saw. As I was close to home, fortunately, I saw a driving rain waterfall, whatever you call it, racing towards my car. My wipers couldn't keep up with it. I had to drive 20 miles an hour to make it home. I had no idea what was coming. No one took the storm seriously, so the entire region was not prepared. Just 70 miles to my south, Andrew was ripping through southern Dade County like a buzzsaw. Amazingly, didn't lose any power. Only 70 miles from a major hurricane on the right side of the storm is normally a disaster. Andrew was a rare Category 5 storm that was small in size. That's what saved my area. Normally, when they're strong, they're huge. I got real lucky. But you're about to see my neighbors to the south were not as fortunate. Just bringing back a lot of memories. I was fortunate. Years after the storm hit, I was working in Dade County and I heard just horrific stories of people losing their homes and people dying, and it was a monster. It really was. Andrew was a killer. Maybe that's why I was meant to do this, because the first hurricane that comes to my area is a killer, and no one cared. I mean, they weren't ready. I'm going to show you a documentary here to really show you the damage that this storm inflicted. I can't talk anymore. You've heard my story. I was one of the lucky ones. See you next time.
30 years since Hurricane Andrew ravaged our community. It was the storm that changed South Florida in so many ways.
Over the next half hour, we're going to take a look at how it changed us. But first, a look back.
You never forget the sound of the howling wind on the morning Hurricane Andrew made landfall. The Cat 5 storm flattened Homestead and Florida City and brought widespread destruction to Perrine, Kendall, and other parts of South Miami-Dade. The day after the storm hit, I reported on damage the likes of which I had never seen before. Homestead Air Force Base was leveled, mobile home parks destroyed, communities like Country Walk wiped out.
There's absolutely no way to describe what it's like to see your house in pieces.
My colleague Al Sunshine survived by hiding in a closet. He woke up to find his home destroyed.
Where in the hell is the cavalry on this one?
Miami-Dade's Emergency Operations Director, Kate Hale, got national attention when she called for the cavalry. Soon, 12,000 National Guard troops were in South Florida. FEMA set up a tent city in Homestead. Life was tough, and it would remain that way for a long time to come.
What we're trying to do is help people.
In the midst of the chaos, President Bush came, promising more federal relief. Neighbors turned out to help one another, a movement that sparked the creation of what is now Neighbors for Neighbors. The storm prompted changes to building codes and hurricane insurance policies still impacting South Florida today. For those of us who lived it, the howling wind is forever a reminder of how Hurricane Andrew changed our lives.
Sherry and Chuck Heyman were inside their southwest Miami-Dade home when Hurricane Andrew leveled it and destroyed or damaged more than 125,000 other homes.
We thought maybe our mailbox would blow over. We never, ever could have imagined to be in a situation like this. And back in the day, there were no hurricane shutter requirements. There were no storm windows or anything. And, we thought we would be safe in our house.
They lived a mile southwest of Country Walk.
It sounded like freight trains going through our house.
Then the windows started to pop and break from the pressure. So we grabbed Nicole, our newborn baby, and went into our walk-in closet. Unbeknownst to us, above the closet was a crawl space. That cover blew off and all the insulation fell on us and our newborn baby.
They ran to their garage and spent 3 hours there.
And then when we opened the door from the garage to our house, it was an unbelievable sight. Every interior wall was blown out. Every stud was sheared in half, and the roof blew off. We just took basically the shirts off our back. Sherry grabbed her jewelry. That's it. We didn't take anything else.
I insisted that we leave. There was no water. A lot of people in our community stayed. They wanted to protect their property, their belongings. For me, all I cared about was our daughter and the safety of my newborn baby.
9 months after Andrew, the Heymans moved back into their rebuilt home, and then after 4 years, moved to Weston.
Are you old enough to remember where you were when Andrew came calling? Next, weather meteorologist Lisette Gonzalez was born and raised here in South Florida and rode out the storm with her family in southwest Miami-Dade. She recently went back to remember and reflect.
I will never forget it. I was in high school at the time, and we rode out the storm right here in my parents' home where they still live in the Village Green community in southwest Miami-Dade County. When Andrew rapidly intensified and started to head towards Miami-Dade County, we did the best we could to prepare, but we could have never imagined the monster that Hurricane Andrew would turn out to be. And the worst part is that the eye moved through overnight when we had lost power, we were in the dark, and basically once we knew we had to hunker down and head into the most interior room and the wind started to roar like a freight train, it was so eerie, it was so scary. We were holding up a mattress and just basically listening to meteorologist Brian Norcross on the radio. He guided us through the storm. Once Andrew passed and we were able to go outside and assess the damage in the morning, we had some shingles that had fallen off the roof, there was flooding, there were power lines and trees down everywhere. However, nothing in comparison to the devastation and the destruction across other parts of Miami-Dade County, especially southern Miami-Dade County. Neighborhoods like Cutler Ridge and Country Walk and Homestead were completely flattened and unrecognizable. It was heartbreaking. However, in the aftermath, as we saw people come together to help each other out, it was really moving and inspiring to see how we were able to rebuild our community. Now, because of Andrew, our perspective on hurricanes was forever changed. I know that I could never see a tropical threat the same way again because I witnessed and experienced firsthand the wrath and the power of Hurricane Andrew and how catastrophic it could be. And this is the reason why I take an even greater responsibility in helping to prepare and protect our viewers whenever we do see any kind of threat from a tropical storm or a hurricane. And whenever the anniversary of Andrew comes around, I think it serves as a reminder for all of us that it only takes one, and we can never let our guard down.
When Hurricane Andrew struck South Florida, next weather meteorologist Jennifer Correa was looking forward to her first day of kindergarten. Jennifer and her family rode out Andrew in their Kendall home, something she still remembers.
This is how my childhood home looked like the day after Hurricane Andrew. And this is what it looks like now. And I'm gonna date myself right now. I was 5 years old, so yes, I was young, but it was a traumatic experience as a kid. I'm sure a lot of kids that grew up in Kendall could say the same thing. A lot of my friends, my age that I grew up with, experienced Hurricane Andrew. And the one thing that scared me during the storm was the sound. I could not sleep at all. And it was really scary. I remember keeping my hands over my ears almost the entire time. But what scared me the most was hearing things hit the outside of the house, like the walls. And take a look at this. We actually used tape for the windows. This is obviously a no-no. Now we know after Andrew that doesn't help. In fact, we used in most of the windows except the sliding door. Well, that actually had plywood. There's the plywood. The plywood was completely ripped off. Some of the smaller windows, thankfully not the sliding door, but some of the smaller windows did explode and shattered. Also, the sound of like a train constantly passing by. It was those strong winds that were just blowing so hard. This photo is really impressive. I think this one is pretty shocking, actually. My dad took this on top of the roof of our house. And so this is our surrounding neighbors. Look at the damage. You can tell roofs completely gone, shingles, trees completely bent over and uprooted. Hurricane Andrew afterwards really shaped my interest as a kid in developing an interest in the atmosphere, earth science, and space science. So I would say that Hurricane Andrew definitely also had a positive impact in that aspect.